The cornerstone of imposter syndrome is humility. Someone works really hard to get somewhere, and when they get there, they pretend they don't deserve to be there. Life is going to humble you. It's not your business to humble yourself.
Who doesn't want to be a great leader? A leader who's calm under pressure, insightful, respected, well-liked. But what does it take to become a great leader? Hey, I'm Boo, and welcome to my podcast. The Few Leadership Podcast defines great leadership and what great leadership looks like. And I've found some of the world's best leaders or experts in the field of leadership to help you accelerate your leadership journey so you can be an ace at the game of leadership. If you're ready to rethink everything you know about leadership, if you're excited about accelerating your leadership journey, let's strap in and ignite your leadership potential. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of The Few. Remember, like the podcast, leave a review. Please engage with this podcast. A big part of being a leader is the two-way engagement in life. Let's not be passive. And by doing so, we will continue to get phenomenal guests with incredible life stories and great leadership tips to help you on your own journey. And today's podcast is going to be awesome. I'm absolutely pumped to have the former captain of the U.S. Olympic boxing team, someone that made a little bit of a misstep and may have missed out on the Olympics at one time, and who is so awesome and made this pivotal decision in his life that his name is genuinely awesome. Cam, awesome. Thanks so much for coming on The Few, man. I'm so excited for this podcast.
Oh, thanks for having me, man. I'm excited.
I'm excited too. Just as a way of background, I got to see Cam speak for 4 minutes about 6 months ago, and his story was so compelling. And I think anyone that can tell a life story in 4 minutes just has a knack for leadership and a knack for influencing those around us. So Cam, I want to just get straight into this. What was the origins of Awesome?
I was in a dark place, and I didn't like the story I was telling myself. And we all tell ourselves stories. Are you bad at technology? Are you always late? Are you anxious? What are these things we identify as that we usually walk in that role? And in 2012, I wasn't saying nice things about me. And I was very hard on myself, and I was beating myself up. And honestly, I didn't think I was awesome, but I wanted to live that way. And I thought if I changed my last name to Awesome, it would force me to be more of a positive person.
Is it hard to change your name to Awesome?
No, actually, it's hard to change your first name to Doctor because they don't let you do it.
Dr. Awesome would have been pretty cool, though, I got to say.
Right. I'll settle for Cam. But the same thing a woman goes through or a person goes through when they get married and change their last name, the same paperwork. It costs $178. Honestly, I don't know why more people aren't doing it.
It would be awesome if the whole world was awesome. I mean, imagine, I think it's such a disarming way to start a conversation. I mean, what a way to lift the mood, that mental priming. And I guess let's nail mental priming a little bit here and some of those stories that we tell ourselves. Don't tell the story leading up to that just yet. I want to go even further back in the calendar. What was it about your life that had you telling negative stories about yourself? Was it an internal influence? Was it external? Because I know a lot of us struggle with this, right? I think unless you're a psychopath, you typically can be a bit hard on yourself. So for you, was it something that was innate, or was it a story that you were told externally that had you kind of having these feelings?
I think it was my situation growing up. You know how you hear guys saying, like, growing up, I used to fight everyone on the street. I never lost a fight, or I'm always down to... I was not that guy. I am non-confrontational. And as a kid, I was the same way, which just meant I was a target. And there was a kid who would bully me quite often. And it got to the point, well, he would assault me. I mean, I was sent to the hospital with a concussion in 3rd grade. And my school solution was to release me 10 minutes early so I could get home before he got to me.
Which is the usual Band-Aid solution that all of these non-bullying schools still to this day. My daughter had, she's only 16, had such chronic bullying, we had to pull her out of the school. So I get that must have been, I mean, what's it like waking up every morning with that hanging over your head?
Man, it's exhausting because I didn't even know there was a word for anxiety. And then on top of all that, you want me to remember what the teacher's saying? I was a terrible student. And every 5 weeks in school, they send you a progress report home to remind you how dumb you are. Like, hey, look at all the classes you're failing. I'm like, how does a kid get out of that? And when I would have to leave school 10 minutes early, like everyone saw me. I was packing up my book bag and it was pretty obvious. And everyone knew why I was leaving. And I knew why I was leaving. It was because I couldn't defend myself. I was a coward. I was afraid. And that was a story I continued to tell myself.
And bullying's contagious too, right? Like it's not just the bully. Then you become like the class bully kid. You become the one that everyone avoids, right?
Actually, I'll go even further. Because of that situation in third grade, I looked at everything through the lens of a victim. So even if, 12-year-olds are just, joking on each other, whatever was said to me, I took very deeply. And I was very sensitive because I was like, oh, is this person bullying me? And it's like, you're just waiting for it to happen. And then you put yourself in a role where no matter what's said or done to you, it's done in a negative way. And I was a kid, so I don't understand, but I just saw things through that lens. And
you're not waking up with awareness of that, right? You're not saying, oh, okay, I kind of comprehend why I'm showing up with a negative bias and you're just living it, right? You just don't understand.
Yeah, I don't understand, but I did understand that because of the way I looked, I was a target because I was chubby and I thought if I joined the boxing gym and I looked like a boxer, I didn't want to fight. I just want to do the workout to look like it. If I change.
Sorry for interrupting, because what I really find on the show is people say things, right? And for you, it's like, and then I went boxing. But to me, a kid that's bullied, a kid that's overweight, to go from where you are to such an extreme shift. I mean, if you were inherently a fighter, I would understand. But in that moment, like, was it desperation? Was it like, how do you get to the point where a kid who's kind of in themselves, getting pushed around, just makes that decision to go and get themselves beat up, basically?
I lost a fight to a girl in 9th grade.
Okay. Wow.
Good reason. And it was desperation. I hated myself and I didn't like the story I was telling myself. And
were your parents involved? Was there any external stimuli? Were they telling you to do something, or is this just your own personal journey?
So I grew up in a little more of a tougher household. Like, you didn't get sympathy for getting beat up. You got, why didn't you win? Or, you better go do the dishes before we call that girl to come over here and beat your ass again.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
So it's not exactly the safe space. And I realized like I had to come up with my own solution. It was desperation. And of course, I was so afraid to go to the boxing gym because if there's bullies in school, they could only be professional bullies at the boxing gym. And I'm already intimidated by everyone and I'm scared. But I took that step because I thought I didn't want to hit anyone. I didn't want to get hit. But I thought if I did the workout and looked like them, people would be like, oh, don't mess with him. He's a fighter. And people would just leave me alone.
And what happened? Is that what happened? Or is it a little bit more complex than that?
No, it was very simple. Well, actually, not so simple. I started boxing at 16 and I was just starting 11th grade. And I thought the harder I worked out, the faster I would be safe. So I was there from the time the gym opened to it closed. I worked so hard every day and I did what all the other boxers weren't doing. TNT, takes no talent. I showed up on time. I was consistent. I gave full effort. I asked the right questions. And eventually my coach was like, you're in better shape than everyone else. Do you want to get in the ring and spar? And I was like, no, thanks. I don't think my mom's going to let me. And everyone laughed.
And she probably won't. I mean, particularly today.
Yeah. And then once everyone's laughing, I was like, I'm joking. I'll get a mouthpiece. And I kind of got pressured into doing it. I told myself this story that I was good at avoiding confrontation. Most people take the long way home. I left school early. That's how good I am at avoiding confrontation. So when the bell rung for our first sparring session, I just ran from my opponent. You said I had to be in the ring for 3 minutes. You didn't say I had to fight for the whole 3 minutes. And eventually the guy got tired and then I got to punch him. Immediately in line, I was like, oh, if you don't hit me, you can't win. And now that's when I've kind of figured out boxing. People think it's hit and don't get hit. I thought, don't get hit. And if it's not too inconvenient for me, I might hit you. And because of that approach I took to boxing, everyone wanted to spar me in the gym because I was a big body. I didn't throw a lot of punches, and you can hit me as hard as you want if you can catch me. And it was the first time I never made a team in any sport. This is the first time I've ever been a part of a team, although boxing is an individual sport. I was afraid to miss the gym because if I missed the gym, someone might have shown up to spar with me that day, and I didn't want to disappoint them.
Wow. That's a people pleaser supremo there.
But and it helped me so much. But once I understood my role on the team, it made me want to show up.
Can I ask you another question? Because a lot of people are intimidated by fitness. They're intimidated by the environment of health, right? They're intimidated to go to a gym. They're intimidated to go to CrossFit. They're intimidated to do an F45 class. Tell me a little bit about that environment once you found yourself in it. Was it an environment that, because I think a lot of people just, pursue comfort, right? I read a great saying the other day, the pursuit of comfort is what ages you. And obviously in that environment, there wasn't a lot of comfort for you there, right? So what was it like making that positive decision to change the environment around you? What was it about that environment initially that started to change who you were?
I would say the first thing was that new environment I protected from certain people. I'm a big fan of minding your business. And I don't just mean staying out of other people's business. I mean keeping your business to yourself. So when I told my dad I was going to go to the boxing gym, he told me I wouldn't be a good boxer because I have weak wrists. And for me, I was like, okay, it's so hard for me to convince myself that I'm going to be a boxer. It's going to be nearly impossible for me to convince other people too. So I just didn't they didn't know I was boxing until I had my 5th fight.
Wow. Your family. So you're just going to the gym. No one even knows where you're going.
They knew I was going to the boxing gym to work out and do the boxing workout, but they didn't know I was fighting. And I kept that from them because first of all, I was afraid, I was embarrassed. I'm the kid who got beat up by a girl. How am I going to say I'm a boxer now?
It's another thing to be laughed at, right? Sorry, mate. Before we keep going, I want to pull back to another part of your story just there, because my story was very similar in that my whole life I wanted to be a fighter pilot. My dad kept telling me I'm not smart enough, right? I'm never going to be a fighter pilot. I need to go and have a backup plan, all this sort of stuff, right? Tell me about your father's influence and self-esteem around those. I think they're kind of in their own mind coming from a good place in terms of toughening you up. But tell me a little bit about your father as a leadership role model at that point of your life. I mean, they all change, right? But tell me a little bit about, what you saw in him that you did want to do. And I made a conscious decision to never be like my dad, right? I just went, no matter what happens in my life, I'm never going to speak to my mum like that. I'm never going to speak to my children like that. I'm never going to, those words that were said, I'm going to be grateful if someone cooks me a meal for dinner. So for me, my dad became an anti-hero. Like, it became literally the lens in which I did not want to see. Funnily enough, I still see myself as him as I get older. And I have to keep triggering myself not to behave that way. But tell me a little bit about your dad in that environment.
So what I will say is he gave me a lot of good traits, because there's certain things that sound like, okay, I don't want to be like him in this ways. But he was very smart where he understood systems. And he drove a cement truck Monday through Friday. And he would redo sidewalks and driveways on the weekends. And he dropped out of school at like the age of 10. So he was never the most educated person, to put it like that. But he would go to Home Depot, he'd pick up 2 labor. So let's say he was doing your driveway and your sidewalk. He would go to Home Depot, pick up 2 laborers, have them break up the sidewalk and driveway, right? And he pays the laborers $100 a day. So you throw it in a dumpster, a 20-yard dumpster. Dumpster costs, let's say $500. You're $700 in at this point. The next day and the $100 laborers, they're unskilled. They just throw the concrete in. Then that's Saturday. Sunday, we'll come back with 2 guys who are called floaters. They make the cement smooth, and one $100 labor. The floaters make $350. So that's $700 labor plus $100 labor to go grab the wheelbarrow and everything. So we're about $1,500 in. What that taught me was, if you are unskilled labor, you make $100 a day. If you know how to use a tool, you don't have to work as hard, and you get paid more. So that taught me the ability to if I'm going to be something, I want to be skilled. But then there was another layer to that. My dad charged you $10,000 for the job.
Wow, that's
My
a good
dad made
business.
seven,
That's a
my,
great business.
so my dad probably made 6K on the deal. And the thing is, he did it all wearing white shoes because he never wanted anyone to think he was going to help pick up a tool or do anything. All he did was organize great people.
Wow, that's a great lesson.
And that's what I had growing up. I got to see that. Now, it never made sense to me why he worked Monday through Friday. I'm like, you make so much money on the weekend. Self insurance for 4 kids and all of that. I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. The consistent paycheck.
So like a true provider, like someone like his whole life is driven to provide. And no doubt you learned a lot about work ethic as well.
Oh, yeah. So the thing about the work, I wanted to impress my dad. So when he would pick up the laborers from Home Depot, I would be in the back of the pickup truck too, because I quickly learned they won't respect me if I sat up front with the boss. So I would sit in the back of the pickup truck and we'd talk crap on the boss with everybody else.
Yeah.
And whatever they did, I did.
Yeah.
And I couldn't ask for an easier route because I wanted the respect of my peers. So my level of work ethic is immigrant labor level work ethic.
Yeah.
And my dad is an immigrant as well.
That's
He's from
serious
Trinidad.
work ethic though. That's the engine room of a nation, right?
Yeah. No air conditioning, no 15-minute breaks, no lunch. Like those things, I didn't even know like that type of stuff existed. And so when it was time to go to boxing and put in the work, although my dad didn't believe in my boxing dream, I got that work ethic. And I'm like, oh, I can show up on time. I can outwork everyone. I can ask the right questions. I can be consistent. And I'm not talented. I never made a team I tried out for all the teams. It's not that I'm athletic. And I realize it's because natural talent is a curse.
Yeah, that's true.
All the naturally talented boxers are here.
Yeah.
It started here. Once I got to where they are, well, I have everything they have. Plus the ability to work hard.
Yeah. There's a lot of influencers on social media that all talk about everything as a hack and the shortcut and the way to make a lot of money without a lot of effort. And I think people buy into that narrative a little bit, but I certainly, in 45 years of working 5-year-old boy wanting to be a fighter pilot and working my ass off to get there, I've never seen the easy road come anywhere. That's true. That's kind of interesting though, that you're hanging around with these tough laborers, you're doing tough work, and you're going to school and you're like afraid of people.
Yeah.
That's a kind of a really odd situation.
Yeah, I was afraid of people in school, but at the boxing gym, I became the man there because everyone wanted to spar me. So like, not even the man, I had friends, or I felt welcomed. So I was Cameron at school, but I introduced myself as Cam at the boxing gym because I thought it'd be cooler.
The stuff that kids think about, right?
But Cam was cool. Cam
Yeah.
had friends. Cam was tough. Cam was a boxer.
Yeah.
My senior year of high school, my parents moved to Florida. I was living in New York. They moved all the way to Florida, where it would be devastating for most high school seniors. But for me, I realized no one knows I got beat up by a girl in Florida.
Yeah.
I can be whoever I want. I can develop a Jamaican accent and no one will be the wiser. I didn't develop a Jamaican accent, but what I decided to do was create a list of characteristics I wanted in the new person I wanted to create. And if you had that opportunity, if you had a buffet line to choose 5 characteristics for yourself that you will identify with, what would some of them be, you think?
Oh, I think for me, some of it was conscious. So I'm not sure if you're asking me personally that question, mate, or you're just putting it out
I
there
am.
as a rhetorical one. For me, I did a lot of sport at school, right? So I did rowing, I did volleyball, cross country athletics. And for me, I was always in that team environment. And I think for me, it was like, it was to never be the person to let anyone down, right? That was number one. So the second, and I got this from my dad, was integrity. Like despite, we all have failings, he was honest and had integrity to a T. So to me, integrity was always important. Probably a characteristic I had that may not be construed as something positive was I wanted to be someone. I wanted to be something that meant something in terms of, I just didn't want to live a life that was average. The other one was, even as a kid, I never wanted to live in a city and I never wanted to work in an office. I just never, and I grew up on farms. My mum's family was from the country, and I never have. I just refused to. And then probably the characteristic that I'd later developed, definitely as a fighter pilot, was basically don't be an asshole. Was really important.
That's a life hack.
Yeah, like just take a bit of time. Like, don't speak to people in a bad way. Don't be directive. And in the world of a fighter pilot, just like boxing, we have the same philosophy, right? We recruit mindset, we recruit effort, we recruit people that have a dream and turn it into reality. Because the talented fighter pilots, like you say, eventually they kill themselves. Eventually that's what happens. Eventually they rely on the talent, they rely on the skills, and one day they missed a brief, they didn't listen to something, and they have an accident. And within that world where the learning curve is so steep, where you just have to hang on and get to this level of performance, a lot of pilots tend to go down the asshole route a little bit and just tell you what to do. Don't say you did a good job. Doing a good job is your job. And that goes into you, right? Even now, I still feel like my basic job is to do a good job. But I just didn't want to be that guy. And when I left the Air Force, and everyone signed, all the pilots signed something, get a photo of an airplane. The statement of that one pilot made there was, we have this role in a squadron called a BCAT, and a BCAT is like the senior pilot in the squadron, right? Who's been around for a few years, knows the ropes. And this guy just said, I always loved flying with you because it never felt like I was flying with a BCAT. So flying with you just felt good. It didn't feel like flying with the others. And to me, even now, I see, let's make a podcast about me, so I'm going to finish off and get back to you, mate.
I want to learn about you, man.
Even today, I've been around a lot of successful, very wealthy people. I've made a lot of money myself in and around those people. And what I realized was a lot of those people aren't very nice. And for me, I've always felt it is much harder to be successful and be a good dude. Like it actually is. It's more effort. It's more about other people. It's not about missing the last payment with a construction crew and being the smart guy. It's not about putting a company in a bankruptcy at the end so you don't have to pay $1 million in bills. When you see some of these art of the deal people, and a lot of it is like, how can you get ahead by stepping on others? And for me, I just felt that wasn't me. But anyway,
I think that's the faster route, but it's not sustainable.
No, there's no self-worth in that, I think, because deep down, I think we're engineered to be good. Otherwise, we wouldn't thrive as a species, would we? I mean, you're in the boxing ring, and there's tell us a bit about boxers, actually, because people have an opinion of boxers, right? Angry people, damaged, the whole deal. But I suspect for you, you're a bit like everyone thinks a fighter pilot's Maverick out of the movie. It ain't that. What is the world of boxers like? And I don't want to stereotype boxers, but what are some of the things about being in that environment that people maybe wouldn't naturally assume?
I would say, well, the first thing is I've never watched a Rocky movie. I'm very against Rocky as a series. It has nothing actually to do with the sport. Like, Rocky gets hit a bunch, he gets dropped, he gets back up, he starts fighting. First of all, when you get dropped in boxing, they wipe your gloves to ensure no debris from your gloves gets into your opponent's eye. Second thing is, the more you get punched, the stronger you don't get. That's not how it works. You don't take damage and get stronger. And people have this perception, all the boxing movies, like, to be a boxer, you got to be angry, ignorant, a criminal. I'm like, no, I'm a non-confrontational, happy guy. I boxed in a pink skirt because I thought it'd be funny to beat up grown men in a pink skirt. Now,
that is pretty funny.
Right? And if you look back at any of my boxing pictures, I have my thumbs up in all of them. My celebration pose is literally thumbs up. It's a goofy thumbs up with a goofy smile, because I want to show the world you don't have to be angry to be good. It's an art. It's a sport. Second thing with what I learned about boxers is you go to weigh-ins at nationals and there are about 500 boxers, and there's guys with their shirt off and face tattoos and guys slamming on their chests and talking loud. And then there's also a group of kids in the corner sitting crisscross applesauce giggling. Those are the killers. What I've learned is everyone who knows how to fight has no interest in fighting at all. They're the most kind, respectful people you will ever meet. Because the thing is, and I don't wish this on everyone, but getting punched in the face changes you. You become a lot more respectful when you get punched in the face. And you realize anyone could get knocked out. You could be the greatest fighter in the world. And then You don't know who knows Brazilian jiu-jitsu or anything like that. So what I'm saying is people who know how to fight are usually the sweetest, kindest people.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? And I want to unpack that a little bit. Again, just telling stories from my own perspective is within the world of fighter pilots, we have this kind of concept where you can't act and think at the same time. So when you're busy flying the airplane, you're fighting the airplane. The pilots that aren't too emotional, that aren't invested in the primal brain, are the ones that win. And how do you do that as a boxer? Because there's always this, I guess, this fine balance between the perfect amount of arousal, right? Where how much thinking are you doing in the ring? I mean, I would imagine if you've still got that little bit of capacity to pick up the moves, to pick up the rhythm, to see something coming. Like, tell us a little bit about how you build that skill set, because I think that's business today. I think everyone's in a fight, right? And everyone's fighting technology. They're fighting their competitors. It's all about everyone's blaming everyone else, and they're not taking that accountability for actually you can condition yourself to be able to anticipate. You can have a little bit left in the tank to think a little bit better. How did you manage to, was that something that was a kind of an instinctive skill for you? Was it a learned skill? How do you find that balance between arousal and action and thought?
Well, you asked a question earlier when you were talking about your father and things you don't want to be like. I would see when my dad would get angry, is like his IQ would just immediately drop. And I saw that with everyone. When someone gets angry, they become dumb. And when I was boxing, I would run away from my opponent. And when they got frustrated and they got angry, their ability to block punches regressed dramatically. Their game plan goes out of the window. And I realize that emotions can only hurt you. I have no emotions but joy in the ring. If you get a good shot off at me, on me, it's so easy to say, oh, I took that shot. That doesn't hurt me. I could take another one. Well, that's emotions.
It's true.
Oh. And then I don't let that heated exchange of you won that, like, oh, I got to get this next one back. No, 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 no. You got that one. And I keep it moving. I don't hold on to anything emotional. But what I want to do is I want to get under your skin any way I can. And I do that in many different ways. When I was boxing, imagine you and I are fighting. You're walking towards the ring. Your music is playing. You're hyped up. You've been thinking about this moment for the last month. And now I come out and my music plays. But I chose the national anthem, which is the worst song to hear in that moment. Everyone has to stop what they're doing, stand up, and pay attention to me. And all the energy in the room is kind of gone. That's top level trolling. Now you
haven't even said anything bad. You haven't dropped someone down to raise yourself. All you've done is be super intentional about every minor detail.
Oh yeah. Also, on your way to the ring, I stop you mid-walk and tap you on the shoulder. Hey man, I want to say good luck out there tonight. And I go in to hug you. Now, sportsmanship is a part of the judging process. You have to hug me back. You know I'm just here to ruin your moment. And I let you continue walking through. Now you're angry. Now you want to kill me. Now, my favorite thing to do, I'm a southpaw. So you throw your jab. In the beginning of the fight, guys, 90% of punches they throw is a jab. You throw your jab, I slip it, uppercut. My favorite punch. I practice it so much, it's like clockwork. Second time you throw it, slip it, uppercut. Third time you throw it, slip it, uppercut. Fourth time you throw it, slip it. You know you're going to get hit with an uppercut, so you close your eyes. I don't throw it. When you do open your eyes, it's me smiling. Now, you know if you throw that punch again, I'm going to hit you with an uppercut. I've just trained you to not throw that punch. Now I'm fighting a one-handed fighter. Now, if I can do that to your right hand, now you're afraid to throw punches. Subconsciously, every time you throw a punch, you get punished. If you ever watch the boxing match, and you're like, that guy trained so hard for the fight. Why is he not throwing any punches? Because every time he throws a punch, he gets punished. So those are the little mind games I do. Also, another thing I do, if you throw a hook, instead of blocking it, I'll duck under, grab your hips, turn them around so your back is facing me, and I gently hump you from behind. The referee will break us apart, hold you back because you're now about to lose your mind, and then warn you for turning your back to the action. If I could do that to you 3 times in one round, that's a point. I won the round. I studied the rule book to figure out everything I can do to barely get away with it.
Just run that fine line. And I was having this conversation with someone, a mate of mine the other day. He's a Delta Airlines pilot, right? So salary man, does his job. But when you talk to him about what he gets paid and how he gets compensated, that dude knows every single inch of the employee manual and everything he does. He rosters himself off, then he rosters himself on, he takes it off, he trades flights with you, and he ends up doubling his pay packet every month because he understands the rule book back to front. Everyone else complains about the rule book. Oh, it's not fair. I don't get paid enough. But that intentionality around detail, to me, that is so critical to optimizing your performance as an individual, but also having the brain capacity, right? Like if you're not doing that thinking in the ring, it's just instinctive. You're getting 3 or 4 more action points in per second than anyone else is.
Oh yeah. Yeah. One thing I never looked at a guy in his eyes. I always try to stare at his Adam's apple so I can watch his muscles twitch. Because if I see your right shoulder twitch, well, I know your right hand's coming. And now I have to figure out if it's an uppercut or a straight. It's only a 50-50 chance. I'm going to figure that out before you get a chance to throw the punch. And I've trained myself to react to the muscle twitch, not to the thought of you throwing a punch. So before your punch even goes, so the uppercut, you throw a jab, I throw an uppercut, your jab, your fastest punch. So I got to time this great. So as soon as I see you're going to throw it, we're throwing it at the same time. And I just have to make sure I don't get hit with your jab. It's a risky punch. Also, risk for reward. The risk is, if it's not I said 90% a jab. If I go to do this and it's a hook, it's night-night. There's consequences to making the wrong decision sometimes.
If you're enjoying the show, I'd just like to ask of you a little favor. We're on a mission here to ignite the world's leadership potential. We need to reach out to as many leaders as we possibly can. So if you're enjoying the show, I just ask you to leave a review, to subscribe, to help introduce this podcast to other leaders to join you on your journey to flawless leadership. We're going to head back to the episode now. I hope you've enjoyed what you've learned today. Please remember, let's ignite a movement of flawless leaders. Subscribe, leave a review. Let's get back to the show. Yeah, and I think you mentioned it again subconsciously. I think it's that everything becomes a balance of probabilities, right? Like, and it's the cumulative needle shift towards more probable rather than the one and done, right? There's no probability of one, right? It's somewhere in there. But okay, there's 2 things I want to reflect on as you talk, because this is super interesting. One is you must be a sensitive human being, like deep down, and you must think a lot, and you must think a lot about yourself and where you are in the world, because I would imagine you wouldn't have been bullied if you didn't have those attributes. If you weren't sensitive, right? You wouldn't have bothered by people if you didn't overthink things. And then what you've done, this is massive amateur psychology here, right? So tell me if I'm full of BS. Then what you've done is you introduced intentionality to that raw talent, right? You've brought intentionality around how to put all those thoughts into action, read manuals, train hard, fully invest in the controllables, the things that you have complete control over, go all in on those, right? And then I would suspect, and I think this is super important for leaders, right? When you talk about imposter syndrome and all that, is somewhere in there, you had a self-worth shift, right? So somewhere in there, you saw Cameron with no value and Cam with value. Now, that didn't happen by accident, right? Because you made that intentional decision. So tell me a little bit about the pain and the times you didn't want to do the things that gave you that worth, and how you overcame that. Because I think everyone wants to be someone, right? I think everyone wants to achieve something. I think everyone has an unattainable goal. I mean, if you look at case studies, more than 90% of people don't achieve what they really, really want out of life. So tell me a little bit about that. Like, how do you show up when you really don't want to?
You know how the stock market over the course of 100 years has always gone up?
Mm-hmm.
That's how you have to look at your life. Like, because the only difference between me and most other people is like, I'm just still doing it. We talk about all the boxing matches I've won, and it's because of my internal dialogue. So when I moved to Florida, I now killed Cameron. It was only Cam. Everyone who knew me in Florida knew me as Cam, because Cam was cool. Cam could fight. And my high school was 6 miles away from my boxing gym. So Every day I had a 6 mile walk, a 3 hour walk. Do you remember iPods?
Yeah.
I didn't have one.
Yeah. Wow. That's a lot of time with your own thoughts.
So what do you think about? So this is back then I was listening to rap music. Rap music is the only genre or only place in the world where you can unapologetically talk about how amazing you are. I've got this. I got this money. I got this much money. I deserve this. I got this car. I'll throw this away. I get this woman. Like, it is just talking about how it's just patting themselves on the back. And when I was walking home early from school in elementary school, I told myself the story that I was scared. I was a coward. I couldn't defend myself. But for some reason now, look, I'm glad that I did. I just made up stories about how great I was and how I won all the time and how I knocked everyone out and I had all the money, all the cars, all the jewelry. And I did this 3 days a week, 3 hours a day, 5 days a week. So 15 hours a week, I was just patting myself on the back. And Cam was saying how great he was. The more highly I spoke about myself on the way to the gym, the better I did when I got there. And the better I did the gym, the more excited I was for that walk. And that created this like confidence feedback loop that I was capable of anything. And I used that confidence within 2 years to be the number one boxer in the country.
Tell us a little bit about that. Was that the intention, or was that just a byproduct of the effort and commitment to the process?
Oh, after I was in high school, I was like, oh, I'm easily the best boxer in the world. I just haven't seen all of them, but I'm pretty sure I'm the best. I'll go prove it. And now that I look back at fights, like old videos of fights of me fighting back then, I don't know how anyone let me beat them. I was trash. But I just was so convinced I was going to win that I made it happen. It was that delusion, and I believed in it wholeheartedly.
Was it a dream to become the number one fighter in America, or was it the byproduct of the system that you had created for yourself?
Oh, neither. So this was 2008, and 2006, when I was walking to the gym, everyone had their own reality TV show. And I thought, okay, I can go win nationals. And then after I win nationals, I'll get my own TV show. I wanted to be a performer. I never wanted to box. I don't even like boxing. But I was like, oh, it's not that hard. It just sucks. Like walking to the gym, doing the workout, I could do it. But if I do that thing I don't want to do, which is the boxing part, I'm going to get my own TV show.
Love it.
2008, my first national championship, they gave us a piece of paper
Man,
to
you
fill
tell
out.
yourself some great. This is a great podcast for telling yourself stories to fulfill your own destiny.
Bro, I filled out a form, height, weight, reach, hometown, and the final question in this questionnaire before nationals was, what do you want out of boxing? And it's still up there to this day with a grammatical error that drives me wild. I said I wanted to be a good role model, and I wanted to have my own TV show or be a actor instead of an actor.
Hey, actor.
So,
yeah, cool. That's all right.
but that was my goal. So, and I had this thought, if boxer A has 100 boxing matches and boxer B has 3 boxing matches and they were to fight, who would you bet on?
Yeah, you'd bet on 100.
You don't even need to know their record. They could be 5 wins and 95 losses. You'd still probably bet on them. That's the power of experience. So I won my first boxing match ever, and I was hyped. I couldn't tell anyone at my house, but I was so excited. That's when I knew I was going to be the best boxer in the world. My second fight, I fought a dude from the Bronx, and he had more experience than me. He had 40-something fights, but I'm great. And I lost that fight. It wasn't even close. I was like, he's so much better than me. How? And I asked my coach, because I was just boxing. I didn't know anything about boxing. I'm not even a big fan. So I asked my coach, what did a loss mean for my potential career? Can I not go to the Olympics? Do I lose ranking points? What does it mean? And he's like, you don't get the bigger trophy. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, there's 2 trophies. I was like, yes. There's a big trophy. There's a small trophy. I said, correct. He said, you don't get the bigger one. And the way he explained that to me changed the way I looked at losing. He made it seem like it was an expected part of the process.
Yeah, that's so important.
He didn't tell me to work harder.
Yeah.
He didn't tell me what I did wrong. He was very indifferent about the situation. So my thought process was, if a boxer has 50 boxing matches, that's a lot. I said, well, I'm just going to get to 100. And after I get to 100, I'm going to be better than everyone. So I fought everyone and I didn't care about my record. And I got all this experience and it allowed me to become the number one boxer in the country within 2 years.
Tell us a bit about that. I remember just seeing Will Smith in a podcast recently talking about, we all talk about rock bottom, but we don't talk about the top of the cliff. We don't talk about when we arrive. So tell me a little bit about, because you became the best boxer and then that led you towards the Olympics and then the wheels started to come off a little tiny bit.
Yeah. Actually, right before nationals, I qualified for the 2008 Olympic trials, which I'd been boxing for less than 2 years. It was a big deal that I made it. I lost the first day. It was expected, but something clicked in my brain. Everyone who loses turns pro or quits. And I figured if everyone leaves and I don't, aren't I the best?
Dude, you're a one pragmatic dude. Like I love you just literally find the simple answer to the tough questions.
Bro, I'm a simple man. Yeah. And everyone who quit, everyone left and I stuck around. That's why I won nationals in 2008 is because everyone looked at me as the boxer from the last Olympic cycle. I was the favorite. I was supposed to win. Plus, I was super cocky. So I walked around like I was supposed to win. And my opponents, a lot of the times, they allowed me to win. They told themselves a story that they couldn't beat someone like me. And that's why I carried myself in the way I did. I just need you to believe that I'm better than you. I don't need to be better than you.
Yeah. Well, that's
mind games.
That's what it's all about, right? I mean, it's if you can get, we call it getting, and you would do this all the time. I mean, we just documented in the Air Force. We called it the OODA loop, and the job to win a fight in air combat is to get inside the other guy's decision-making loop. So he becomes unsettled. He's not sure what to do next. You upset his game plan. He makes a mistake. Next thing you know, you're saddled up and you're winning. Can I ask you a question as well? Because I mean, let's look at this in terms of personal life and work life. So boxing was your work life. I know you probably had a job, but that was your full investment. What did your personal life and what were your personal practices that aligned to the success in boxing?
Oh, there was no personal side.
Yeah,
that's
right answer.
What personal side? Like, I didn't see my family. I didn't see my friend. If you wanted to hang out with me, I was in the gym.
Yeah,
that's all I did. I was so afraid, bro, because in high school I get terrible grades. I'm not going to pay to have bad grades in college and fail.
Yeah,
get out of here with that.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, boxing could be my avenue if I give it everything I have, just until the 2008 Olympics. Once I go to the Olympics and I get my TV show, my life will be set. So I stopped hanging out with friends and family, and all I did was train. I lost in the 2008 Olympic trials. When I won the 2008 nationals, though. A gentleman by the name of John Brown sent me an email. A very vague name, sounds fake. So you can't Google him. He was the owner of Ringside. He saw me win at nationals and he invited me out to Kansas City to spar his boxer for a month.
So what's Ringside? Just, I don't know.
It's a boxing equipment company.
Okay.
It's like Title or Everlast.
Yep. Gotcha.
Now it's Combat Sports. Back then it was called Ringside. But he brought me out to spar this guy, and the guy's name was Wyson. They called him White Mike Tyson because he was knocking everyone out. And everyone they brought for this guy to spar, he would knock out and they would go home the next day. Well, when they brought me in, I just thought, okay, I have no ego. I'm just going to run until he gets tired.
I love it.
And out of all the boxers that ever went out there, I was the only one to last the whole week. And he brought me back for a month and I lost my job at Waffle House.
Damn. That must have been brutal. That must have been a hard loss, man.
I always figured I could go work at IHOP. So but
take all that intellectual expertise from the Waffle House in IHOP, man. Oh. You'd have been headhunted for that.
Oh yeah, I know the smothered and covered secrets. Now, I moved to Kansas City for boxing. I knew no one in Kansas City, had no family, no friends there. I just moved there for the goal and the dream. I had no personal life. This is all I did, and I figured so that Wyson guy, during Christmas one year, the first year I went to Kansas City, I went home for 10 days for Christmas. His name is Jeremiah Graziano. We would spar every day, go back and forth. We're both here. And then I left for Christmas for 10 days. And I didn't realize it, but he didn't go home. He stayed in the gym. And when I came back, he beat the crap out of me for like a whole month because he surpassed he was in better shape than me. And I told myself that will never happen again.
Yeah, you must have felt that one.
Oh man, I had to deal with him every day. I had to run from this man. And I thought about it. I was like, okay, if I don't take off the 3 weeks people normally take off a year, after a decade, that's 30 weeks ahead of everyone. With compounding interest and momentum, I'm going to be unstoppable.
Dude, I love that concept of compounding performance and the compounding interest of effort and learning and curiosity. The one day you don't learn something 30 years away, the compounding effect of that lost lesson it can be profound. I love
Yeah.
that. That's going in the socials right there.
That's a bar. I just came up with that in my head. Yeah.
Hey, keep that one, brother. That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Okay, so we haven't even got to the creation. You already created Cam, who was awesome. You went to the Olympic trials, and then you had to do something after that
Yeah.
to actually fight the Olympics.
So I won nationals in 2008, and now I was able to travel around the world as captain of the USA national boxing team. So I don't like rules. I don't like people telling me what to do. And I've always
Can I
coached.
just, sorry, just quickly, mate.
Yeah.
Because that's an interesting journey in itself, right? Because it's all about you, the boxer, and you become the captain of the team. Was that something that felt like a burden to you, or is that something that you wanted?
I didn't necessarily want it, but if I didn't have it, someone would have that power. And I don't like people telling me what to do. So if someone's going to have to make the rules, it's going to be me. I'll take the responsibility. At the end of the game, pass me the ball. I'll take the shot. If I miss, we can all blame me. I'm okay with that type of responsibility. So I stepped on as my first year on the team. I was captain, and I was a terrible leader. Now I look back at it. I was like 19. I didn't know anything,
That's crazy.
but I was just the loudest. And usually the loudest becomes the leader, not the most right. Rashid Warren was on that team. That dude should have been captain. He had been to the Olympics twice before, but I'm the loud one. And I looked at it as, I can't get in trouble if I make the rules.
Yeah. But you raise an interesting question. And I think, like, when you look at an entire organization and you look at people who lead versus people who are really highly competent, and often there's there's a mutual exclusion there. It's kind of like, the rock star of the sales team typically is the worst person to lead the sales team. You're 19, right? So you're probably not really, were you kind of absorbing leadership lessons, or are you just like, I don't care, man. I just want to be the one that's dancing on the table and everyone's following me.
No, if I snuck out and got in trouble, I can't get in trouble with the captain if I am the captain. That was I didn't care about leadership. I didn't even understand that concept. Here's how terrible of a leader I was. Now we can laugh at it now that I didn't like team prayers. Hey, we show up at this time, we start working out this time. You want to pray, show up early and do that. Not on my time. And now if I could look back at it, if I could allow my teammates space for 60 seconds to become their best selves and feel most comfortable in this environment, why couldn't I do that? And those are things I later on picked up because I ended up being captain for about 10 years. But the beginning, it was just very selfish. It was like I set rules to how I wanted them.
Yeah. Mate, that's funny. And 19, that's a young age to be a leader of a national team. That's an interesting decision in itself. Okay, so we've got to get to Cam Awesome, mate. We've got to get to Cam Awesome. So tell us a little bit more about what happened with the Olympics.
Yeah, so I ended up winning the 2012 Olympic trials, and we're fighting in different World's Games to qualify for the actual games. I left the country and I forgot to tell the drug testing agency, and they showed up to my home to give me a random drug test, and I wasn't there. A missed drug test is a positive drug test. I was suspended for a positive drug test. Although I tested negative that same week in Azerbaijan, where I was fighting to qualify, you get drug tested to even fight in the tournament. But the rules are the rules. It wasn't even a real thing. It was after Lance Armstrong had gone on Oprah.
Oh, right.
They made an example out of a bunch of athletes for cilium fractures, and I happen to be one of them.
So could you say you got a positive drug test because you weren't there?
Yeah. Missed drug test is a positive drug test.
Oh, wow.
Because the way they look at it, if you missed it, if you weren't there for the test, it's probably because something was in your system.
Oh,
And
wow.
I'm like, no,
that's brutal.
Yeah. The same drug testing organization drug tested me. It was WADA. But After I returned from boxing, I became the athlete rep for the drug testing agency to speak up on behalf of the athletes because I didn't think what happened to me was right.
That is not right. No way.
Yeah. So that year was a tough year for me because I'd put, I wasn't hanging out with family, friends. I had nothing other than boxing. Also, if you ask me how I was doing, I says, I'm good. I'm captain of the USA national boxing team. My name's Cam. I won this amount of nationals. It's who I identified as. It's all I had going for me. It's all I thought about. I was living on the road 300 days a year, traveling around and fighting. It was like my entire life. And then I had that taken from me. And I was living in LA at the time in Torrance. This organization was sponsoring me and I lost all my sponsors, which meant I lost my home. I lost my car. I lost my chef and my maid. It sounds bougie, but you get used to a certain lifestyle living.
Yeah.
They called me up. I was in Denver and they said, hey, don't bother coming back to Torrance. Let us know where to mail your stuff. And I had nowhere to go. And I called my friend up and I'm like, hey, I need your couch.
And just to confirm, this is due to administrative error.
Yeah.
So what do you do? I mean, because now that's a whole world that's out of your control, right? You've gone from everything being in your control, having a pathway, effort delivers reward. Now something outside your control has happened. Probably the first time something like this has happened to you. How did you deal with it?
I drank a lot. That was my go-to. And I was embarrassed to leave my house because people would see me in the grocery store and like, you're the boxing guy, right? You ready for the Olympics? And then when I wasn't going and I had to explain why.
Was this in the media? Was this something that was kind of everywhere?
Yeah. Well, not enough people cared. It would have been more, but people who knew me, like, you going to the Olympics? And like, I'm not. And I mentioned the drug testing thing and they'd be like, oh, sure. There's nothing in your system. And it was embarrassing. And yeah.
So when that happens, what happens to your career? I mean, we saw what happened to Lance Armstrong, but what happens to you?
1 year suspension, and I have no means of making money. So I started doing boxing fitness training at that boxing equipment company. They had a Photoshop room, like a room where they took pictures of equipment. And I went to my coach who owns the company. I was like, hey, can I train people in that room? It's a boxing gym just with cameras. And he's like, yeah. So I go on Craigslist. I find 4 nurses, charge them $25 an hour, do 4 people at once. I was making $100 an hour, and I was doing my hustle, doing boxing fitness training, be trained by the captain of the USA national boxing team for $25. It was a steal.
Wow.
And I did that to keep myself afloat. And I realized I had to go back to boxing because I have no discernible skills.
But it must be a dark place. I mean, I was diagnosed with a medical condition and just within a day, that was it. I couldn't be a fighter pilot. I could stay in and be an admin guy. I could go and box in a room for $25 an hour. And I was like, holy smokes. When your dream goes, it's a big deal. Like it's a moment and it can be dark. Did you find it rapid replan, darkness? Like what was the kind of vibe for you?
So the thing is, like, it was darkness. It was sad. I felt pity and I liked the way it felt.
Did your storytelling change?
Oh yeah. I was beating myself up often. I'm you idiot, you fat loser. How'd we get here? And when you tell someone your story and they felt bad for you, it felt reassuring. And I was like, oh no, that's a scary place to be. And then like 2 weeks later, I realized no one cares.
Yeah.
Before the Olympics even happened, people forgot that I wasn't going.
Yeah, it's true.
And no one cared. No one was giving pity anymore. And I was like, oh, this is where the train stops. I have to choose what I do next. Here's the thing about falling short that sucks. It's not that you have to do it over again. It's how long it takes to prove that you're actually capable of it. And if we tell ourselves stories, and I was beating myself up one day, and I'm like, you loser, how'd we get here? And I realized, like, no one talks to me like this. I don't even talk to me like this. There's a difference between me in 2006 walking to the gym and me when I got suspended. One of us liked me. And I decided at that moment, I was like, oh, I need to get back to that person who spoke to himself positively for 15 hours a week. I didn't have that type of time to do it anymore. And I thought, like, no one thinks about you more than you think about yourself.
Oh, so true.
What do you think about you? And one of the things that kind of struck me was the comments. I read all of the comments, by the way, and I wish there were more. I was very cocky in 2008 when I was captain, and I walked around like it, and I danced in the ring, and I did all that. And when I got suspended, one of the comments a couple times was, I bet he's humble now. And that's a weird one. So I looked up the definition of humble. Have you ever done it?
No, I probably need the humility to do that.
No, you don't. Do you have any children?
3.
Three? All right, let's go with your middle one. Those are usually the best ones anyway.
Yeah, they're the one that's trying to keep it all together.
Yeah. Look up the definition of humble if you have your phone on you. And while you look
if
up
I have my phone on me, come on, man.
if you do,
Who doesn't have a phone?
while you look it up, I want you to think about that middle child. And when I read this definition, it changed the way I looked at the way I told my story.
All right, do you want me to run
Yeah,
through it?
hit me with it.
On now. Yeah, having or showing a modest or low estimate of one's own importance.
Now let's think about that middle child. Is that something you would wish on them?
I think my middle child has this.
But would you wish this on them?
Humility?
Yeah, that definition.
It's such an interesting question because I feel like in some phases of life, yes, but I also feel in some phases of life, you just have to be a beast. So for me, for example, we in the Air Force, we have humble and approachable are two of the core philosophies, right? Humility. And we have conditioned humility because after every single mission, we have to stand up in front of our peer group and say what we did wrong and what we're going to do tomorrow to fix it, right? So I think you kind of have a byproduct of humility, but at the same time, I don't know, this is a really good, interesting conversation. At the same time, I still had to think of myself as the best. I still had to think of myself as the most proficient, even though deep down, I maybe didn't feel it. I knew I had to get there. I don't know. Keep talking to me. I want my kids to be humble, but not humble to the point where they're pushed around.
At what point do they get to decide when they're humble or not, if it's the core of their being? Could you expect them to reach for the stars while remaining grounded, which lowly is the actual definition? Read a second definition.
Of low social, administrative, or political rank.
Does that sound positive?
Lower in dignity or importance.
Does any of these sound good? Now, what happens to us, I believe, is here's my belief. And I don't need you to agree with me, people listening. I just want to challenge the way we think. I think the cornerstone of imposter syndrome is humility. Someone works really hard to get somewhere. And when they get there, they pretend they don't deserve to be there. Because their whole life they've been told, don't celebrate too much. Don't make anyone feel bad. Don't talk about how good you are. So instead of telling yourself how good you are, what do you tell yourself? Oh, I could have done better. Oh, that wasn't good enough. Oh, I'm not the best. And I realized it's that internal dialogue that fuels us. So when I changed my last name to Awesome, it was my idea of throwing humility out the window. Life is going to humble you. It's not your business to humble yourself.
I see that. And I guess that's kind of where I'm coming from. It's like we have this social construct in Australia. It's called the tall poppy syndrome. And basically, a field of poppies, they all grow to the same height. And every now and again, there's a tall poppy that comes up and it dies. So culturally in Australia, if we are Cam Awesome, the society brings you down to the same level. Like it is a cultural norm to bring everyone back. And it is hard to, now I live in the States, that doesn't exist. But it's not good. Like it's like it puts out the flame a little bit. It dials back the fire.
Yeah. And I didn't, that's a cool way to put it. I never heard of that.
That's why we podcast.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's why I don't have children. So it's a lot easier for me to pick up and leave places, but it's so easy to restart your life and your expectations for yourself if you're in a new environment.
Yeah.
Because when I was in New York, I left and I get into a new environment. Whoever I introduced myself as is who those people took me as. I got to go back to New York right before I graduated to walk with my class. Didn't really care to walk with them. I just needed them to see how great I am now. I'm confident. I've got abs. I drive a Mustang. The driver's door is yellow, but if you're on the other side of the car, it looks like a nice car, right? Yeah. And I got to the school to show off on everyone. And I immediately reverted into the unconfident, awkward person I used to be. and I couldn't figure it out. I left New York immediately and I didn't go back for a long time.
Yeah. School reunions do that, right? School reunions, it takes you straight back to that
Yeah.
version. The bullies become the bullies again. It's like it's this weird, it's this weird program.
And here's the program. And I saw the Charles Horton Cooley quote. I am not who I think I am and not who you think I am. I am who I think you think I am. I'll say it again.
Yeah, I see it.
I'm not who you think I am. I'm not who I think I am. I'm not who you think I am because I don't know what you think.
Yeah.
I am what I think you think I am. So if I think you think I'm a smart person, I'm going to show up as a smart person. But if I think you think I'm a person who's always late, chances are I'm going to show up late.
Yeah.
I'm going to fill the roles that people expect of me.
Yeah. Self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah. Changing environments was crucial for me. And not telling people, and even in my family, about my boxing because I was trying to protect this new person I became or I was trying to become.
So this reset, okay, so the Cam Awesome reset, just give us some narrative around that.
When I moved to Florida, I created certain traits that I thought I wanted. And one of those was confidence, charm, funny. I want to be tough, resilient. And then in 2012, I decided when I legally changed my name, I symbolically killed off the old me. I threw what I called an afterbirth day party. I invited all my friends out on my half birthday, and we celebrated the death of Lenroy Cameron, my old name.
Yeah,
and
wow.
celebrated the birth of Cam, F awesome. And I was more intentional about the traits I chose. I'm resilient because the idea of me coming back from the suspension and then winning nationals that first year, that's going to take resilience. So I'm resilient. I'm funny because I want to do stand-up comedy. I'm charming. I'm a hard worker. And one of them that I put is I'm ever evolving.
Yeah, that's the key one, I think. I mean, that's growth. That is just ever prepared, right? Ever adaptable.
Yeah. And I put that one there because I wasn't sure what I was going to do for boxing, but I stopped identifying as an athlete and I started identifying as an entertainer because I never wanted to lose my identity again.
Yeah, that's powerful. That's powerful. I had when I started my first business, my business partner and I, as my best friend, we did really, really well. And we were sitting down and we're like, what is it about some people that come here and they struggle? And then we're like just smashing this market, building this massive company. And we came back, it probably isn't a good word, doesn't sound like it, but we came back with this, we're like chameleons in that we can just adapt to whatever the environment is. We can adapt to the customer. We can adapt to the team, the soldiers that were working with us, the consultants, this idea that you can reshape and morph to be relevant in the moment that you find yourself in, I think is a very powerful ability as a human being. But I think there is humility in that because you're actually showing up in a way that the other person understands rather than putting your personal, biases into a conversation.
Yeah, I wouldn't attach humility to that. I'm self-aware. I know how amazing I am.
Yeah, that's a good word. Yeah. We're not going to get anywhere with humility with you, are we, mate?
No. Because I see so many people, great people who are capable of so many great things, but they put a ceiling on their ability because all that self-talk, because no one listens to you more than you talk to yourself. Like no one talks to you more than you talk to yourself.
Humble sounds noble, but really it's a handbrake. It's an excuse.
It's limited. So let's say you're here in life, right? You're killing it in the podcast game. And then you run into someone who isn't. In this situation, we usually humble ourselves, not to where they are, but a little bit lower so this person can feel good about themselves.
Yeah.
Who does being humble serve?
Well, no one.
Yeah. So, but the thing is, there's this virtue here in the United States of humility. And I don't see, now I'm not saying the opposite of humility is not arrogance.
Yeah.
It's confidence.
Yeah. Assuredness as well. Just to be true. I mean, you're not marketing yourself. You're not being charming by being disingenuous. You're not being confident by talking a game. You're living and breathing the game, right? So you're creating the persona and then fulfilling the persona. And I think that's an important part of the story. Like there's people that talk a good game, but they just don't play it, right?
Yeah.
So, okay, Cap, because we're massively over time, which I'm more than happy with. That's okay. But what I kind of like to close on here, for those who just fast forward to the end, if you have done that, by the way, go back and listen to this podcast, because we finish off really saying, hey, here's the 3 things that you believe a leader can hang their hat on in terms of some attributes that they need to embrace to lift their leadership game. So what are 3 things that you would give out of the incredibly rich life that you've lived in the experience? I mean, 100 fights is enough life experience in there, right? What would you give to people to help them lift their game and give them confidence?
I've got 400 fights, but
sorry, I'm just going back to the first 100. Yeah. I mean, the next 300 are gravy.
Yeah. Those are the easy ones. So 3 pieces of leadership advice. 1, if you can fail without being discouraged, success becomes inevitable. We don't quit when we fail. Failing is a part of the process. Failing is the opportunity to gain experience. We quit when we get discouraged. How do you stop yourself from getting discouraged? Me, I speak very positively about myself. I changed my last name to Awesome. Those are the things I do. I find things in life to celebrate. The second thing I will say is no one thinks about you more than you think about yourself. What do you think about yourself? How highly do you speak of you? If you set this podcast, but you did the wrong time zone and you showed up late or early, do you beat yourself up? Oh, boo, you idiot. You're so stupid. You never get anything right. How do you treat you? How do you talk to you when no one's looking? It is free to talk good about yourself.
Yeah, it's true.
People don't talk crap on you behind your back. Life is going to be mean enough to you. You don't got to be mean to you. And my third and final thing is, what's the story you tell yourself? Are you the victim? Are you the person who's bad at technology? Because say you're bad at technology, like, cool. You run into an issue with your phone, you throw your hands in the air. Why? I'm bad at technology. Now, if you were to say, oh, I'm the type of person who figures something out, you Google it, you YouTube it, you ChatGPT it, you figure it out.
Yeah.
If you would have taken that attitude since the iPhone 4, imagine where you would be now, technology-wise. What's the story you tell yourself? Do you get the girl at the end of the movie? Do you get the guy at the end of the movie? Like, what's the story you tell yourself? Because you're going to play that role to a T. I learned to recreate the stories I tell myself that benefit me. As biased and delusional as it seems in the moment, I speak it into truth.
Yeah, and I think there's so much forgiveness in yourself once you get to the point where you can say, I just genuinely don't care what anyone else thinks about me. I was blessed with that attribute. I kind of just never had to think about it. I just never have. Maybe I'm arrogant. I don't know. That's what people used to call me when I was younger. But I think it's powerful. It's so much extra time you have to invest in other things when you're not investing in the stories people tell about you. Hey, Cam, mate, I can only say it's awesome. And it's, I appreciate that might sound glib, but truly, man, I'm so grateful for the opportunity to get to speak to you a little bit more and get to know you more, man. I can't wait till our paths cross again. And the value you've given me and to the people on this listening to this podcast today, I'm forever grateful for. So where can everyone find you, mate?
You can find me at camfawesome.com or at camfawesome on all social media platforms, because I'm not famous enough for anyone to take my name.
You will be after this podcast, mate.
Can't wait.
What does the F stand for? I forgot to ask.
So when I branded myself as an entertainer, I knew I needed to do interviews. When you go to a boxing match, any city, the news station goes out, they don't know anything about boxing. There's 20 boxers. They have to choose 3 to interview. I've never not been interviewed. We wanted to ask, what does the F stand for? Well, it's Cam F. Awesome. What do you think it stands for? Family.
I love it, man. Thanks for that, mate. That's a perfect way to sign off. Blessings to you, universe.
Appreciate you, brother.
Guiding your path. I'm so glad you came on today to share your stories. It was awesome.
Thanks for having me, man. Take care.